For centuries, sailors have whispered a name that turns the ocean cold. A monster older than myths, older than kingdoms, older than memory itself. They called it the Kraken. Imagine a world without maps, without compasses, where the sea was an untamed wilderness, a realm ruled by fear and superstition. This was the dark age of the Norse world. And in the deepest, blackest trenches of that sea lurked the greatest terror of them all. The first stories, etched into sagas and sung by skalds around crackling fires, spoke of entire longships pulled under in the blink of an eye. Massive, muscular tentacles, rising like towers from the abyss, powerful enough to snap a mast as if it were a twig. And beneath the waves, eyes the size of Viking shields, glowing with ancient, unknowable intelligence, watching, waiting. It was a creature so vast, so immense, that the ocean itself seemed too small to contain its rage. To the Vikings, the Kraken was no mere animal. It was a demon, a chthonic entity from a forgotten age. It was the guardian of forbidden waters, a divine punishment for those who dared to cross the thin line between courage and arrogance. They believed that to sail too far, to seek knowledge not meant for mortals, was to invite the Kraken's wrath. It was a physical manifestation of the sea's fury, a reminder that humanity was just a fleeting presence on a planet ruled by older, more powerful forces. The ocean, to them, was not just water. It was a living, breathing being, and the Kraken was its heart, its anger, its teeth. According to the most ancient sagas, the Kraken slept for centuries at a time, coiled at the bottom of the world, wrapped in a blanket of crushing pressure and absolute darkness. But when it awakened, the very fabric of nature changed. The winds would die, leaving sails limp and useless. The waves would freeze in place, creating an eerie, unnatural calm, and the water itself would turn black, stained by the ink of a creature larger than any island. They said its breath alone could boil the ocean, its scream could shatter the minds of hardened warriors, and its hunger could never, ever be satisfied. It was the apocalypse in living form. One of the earliest and most chilling tales tells of a Viking longship, filled with a crew of seasoned raiders, that simply vanished without a trace from the cold waters of the North Sea. Just before they disappeared, a nearby vessel received a frantic message, a series of panicked shouts carried on the wind. The crew spoke of the sea rising and falling in unnatural, rhythmic pulses, as if a giant heart was beating beneath their keel. Moments later, a whirlpool opened beneath them, spinning with impossible, terrifying force. What emerged from that vortex was the Kraken, its colossal form stretching higher than the ship's mast, blotting out the sun. The few who claimed to have survived such encounters, men found clinging to driftwood, their minds broken and their hair turned white, spoke of tentacles thicker than ancient oak trees, covered in the scars of forgotten battles. The monster wrapped itself around the not with a quick slow, deliberate embrace. They described the sound of wood splintering, of timbers groaning and snapping like dry leaves underfoot. In less than a heartbeat, the proud longship and its entire crew were dragged into the crushing blackness of the abyss, leaving behind nothing but silence and a few floating oars. The Norse didn't believe these attacks were random. It wasn't simple hunger driving the beast, it was judgment. The Kraken, they believed, chose its victims. It targeted the proud, the greedy, the blasphemous. To encounter the Kraken was to face a divine trial, one that no mortal could ever hope to win. Over generations, sailors developed a grim understanding of the signs of its presence. They learned to read the omens. The sudden, deafening silence of seabirds. The ocean turning as smooth and reflective as a pane of black glass. And, most terrifying of all, schools of fish, thousands of them, leaping from the water in a desperate, frantic attempt to escape something massive and hungry rising from the depths below. For generations, entire coastlines from Norway to Greenland lived in the shadow of this fear. It shaped their art, their religion, and their daily lives. Kings, eager to prove their power and protect their trade routes, would send their bravest warriors, their most decorated champions, to hunt the beast. They would sail out in fleets, armed with iron and courage, determined to rid the world of this ancient terror. None ever returned. Their ships were never seen again. This only deepened the legend. Some whispered that the Kraken could not be killed, that it was as immortal as the sea itself. Its flesh would regenerate, its wounds would close, and its anger would only grow. Others held a more philosophical belief. They argued that the Kraken was not meant to be killed, that its existence served a purpose. It was a necessary evil, a force of nature that maintained a balance, reminding humanity of its fragile place in the grand, cosmic order. It was the ultimate boundary, the final frontier beyond which mortals were not meant to tread. Because, in the darkest corners of Norse mythology, the Kraken was not truly a creature of the sea. It was a creature of the void, a shadow born from Ginnungagap, the primordial emptiness that existed at the beginning of the world, before the gods, before man, before light itself. It was an echo of chaos, a remnant of a time when the universe was formless and hostile. And though centuries have passed, though the age of Vikings has faded into history and science has attempted to demystify the oceans, the fear remains. Sailors still disappear. Modern, steel-hulled ships still vanish without a trace in the North Atlantic, leaving Norwalslik's call. And in the deepest, most unexplored trenches of our planet, advanced sonar still picks up shapes. Biological signatures far too large to be a whale, far too intelligent to be a geological formation. Unexplained movements in the dark that defy our understanding of biology. So the next time you stand on a shore, looking out at the vast, endless expanse of the ocean, Romain Bétis lanes and survive 1,000 years without a reason. Something gave birth to the myth of the Kraken, something powerful, something ancient, something alive. And perhaps, just perhaps, it's still down there, sleeping in the cold, crushing darkness, waiting for the right moment to awaken. It still waits beneath the waves. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy exploring the mysteries that lurk in the darkest corners of our world, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more tales from the abyss. See you next time.